has theirs. And so we're going to learn today how to make and understand about a shofar. And also we're going to learn how to make our own kosher shofar. These are 100% kosher shofarim. You can use these for Rosh Hashanah if you want. And we're actually going to have a competition at the end where you guys will be able to send videos and we'll be able to judge whoever can blow their shofar the best. And the winner will be able to get a prize. So let's start. So first we're going to start off with a video about the reasons on why we blow a shofar and why we actually do blow a shofar. So let's understand more about what a shofar actually is. Okay, it's not working there. Okay. Let's begin with the first video, I guess. So play. Usually not playing. Does not playing. Oh, there we go. Okay, hope everyone saw that. We're just showing like a nice way just to teach you why we actually blow the shofar. So we just showed you a video of 11 ways of why we actually blow the shofar. Some of the reasons there's one of the reasons that we'll actually mainly get into now, which is why do we use a ram? Why can't we use another animal? Why do we mainly use a ram or like you can see a kudu? Why is it mainly those types of animals? Why can't we use any other animal? So let's see why we use certain animals and not others. Okay, so now just to give like a little bit of a summary, we learned about in that video about how we learned all the way going back to the story of Yitzchak, about when the ram came. We learned how the rams, its horns were tangled, and so we're learning from this video why we actually use a ram, or mainly most customs use a ram, and why not use any other animal. So just to make sure that everyone understands that the reason why we're using a ram is that it has more meaning, or it's more connected to Judaism than other animals. So what we learn from this is how we learn from the story of Yitzchak and Avram, how when there was this ram that came and its horns actually got tangled within a bush. So we're learning from the story why we actually use a ram instead of any other animal. So now, just to move on, I want to share a video that a few of my friends and I actually spent quite a time making. It's quite a funny video. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's Shofar stereotypes. Here we go.
Try to sleep here. Okay. No. Ruby, the other side. Oh, this one? No, other. Yeah. Oh yeah, I keep up. You only wait. That was 4 seconds. You need to do your 5 seconds. You did 8 there. You need to go back and do 9. We got this.
Okay. Hope that got everyone in like a pretty like good mood. I mean, it definitely gets me giggling a bit every time I watch it. Just to like teach you, just showing people like different types of people who blow the shofar. Some of them aren't real, some of them we made up. Other ones are true. It's like some of them, like the guy who can't blow. There's some people who think they can blow, but they can't. A lot of people can blow. It's a very hard thing to do, but if you must know, if you can blow, you're very lucky, because I know a lot of people who have tried many times and they still can't do it. So yeah. So let's move on. Now we want to teach you just like what is what is the symbol? What is shofar like? What does shofar actually mean to a person? Like, okay, we blow it in El, we blow it on Rosh Hashanah. Like, but what does it actually mean? So let's learn what a shofar actually means. There we go. Okay, let's understand what a shofar actually is.
The sound of the shofar serves as our own personal alarm clock. It's supposed to awaken and arouse our hearts, our emotions to serve God. Have us reflect on the past year. It is the crying of our neshama, of our soul, wanting us to pay attention to its needs and the life that it's most comfortable with. The most common horn used for a shofar is a ram's horn. Rabbi Abahu says that when we use a ram's horn, God will certainly remember Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, and He will think of it as though we are ready as well to offer our lives for the will of Hashem, just as Isaac was willing to be led by his father Abraham to his own personal sacrifice for God. And although it never occurred, his willingness and his preparedness to do it was considered by God as though it actually was accomplished. And just at the right moment, an animal appeared, caught in the thicket of the bush, and it was that ram that was offered in Isaac's stead. Its horn forever became the symbol of the Jewish nation's willingness to give up everything to fulfill God's will. Many of you have seen pictures of someone standing on a mountaintop in Jerusalem with this long shofar. This reminds us of a time that is very near. It is the cry and the sounding of the shofar that will usher in the coming of Mashiach. It recalls our faith in the future gathering of the exiles, and a time of peace, a time of no more war, a time of no more hunger, and a time when the Jews will once again celebrate with the rebuilding of their temple in Jerusalem with the coming of our Mashiach. Shana Tova, a Happy New Year, and a great Yom Tov.
Okay, so now we understand what a shofar actually symbolizes. It symbolizes like our waking up, to an understanding how Rosh Hashanah is coming and Kippur is coming. It's most powerful, the most meaningful part of the year. So we need to understand why we actually blow the shofar. So we blow the shofar to actually to awaken us, to say oh, it's Rosh Hashanah now. I've got to do teshuvah. I've got to be ready that I need to be sealed in the book of life. That it's going to be a good next year. It's going to be the best next year. Next year is going to be the best year of my life, and so on and so forth. So one of the best ways to actually know that, to understand this whole idea, is to actually hear a story. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to hear a story told by another one of our friends. Just understand another story. It's a story about the Baal Shem Tov, about blowing the shofar. So we're going to understand from this what it actually about what the shofar really is.
In the month of Elul and the days leading up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it is vital and extremely important for every Jew, young and old, to firstly understand why we blow the shofar, the reason behind blowing the shofar, and most importantly of all, that when we hear the shofar, we know what to think, and we know in our minds that it's going to be for teshuvah. And the best way to do this is through a story. In preparation for Rosh Hashanah, the Baal Shem Tov asked one of his primary special students, Rabbi Ze'ev Kitzes, if he would go about doing the special job of blowing shofar for the entire community on Rosh Hashanah. The Baal Shem Tov told him to do this job, he would have to go about learning the mystical understandings of how to blow the shofar. Rabbi Ze'ev accepted, and he started learning the mystical interpretations and meditating on how to blow the shofar. He practiced this job with extreme joy and enthusiasm. He was doing the word of his Rebbe. Rabbi Ze'ev learnt all these kavanas, these intentions and mystical interpretations and understanding of how to blow the shofar. He even took notes on what to refer to when he got up to the bima at the special time when he was going to do this special job. He wrote them down to refer back to. The moment came, and everyone surrounded they were davening. It was the holy day of Rosh Hashanah. The Baal Shem Tov stood in his corner of the shore. His face was aflame with holiness. The moment came, the whole room filled with anticipation of when to blow the shofar. Rabbi Ze'ev stood on the platform, on the bima, ready to blow the shofar. But something happened. He lost his notes of what he had written down back to refer to. He tried to remember where he had last put in his notes, where he had last left them. He searched his mind, but he could not remember. He remembered to the time this very morning when he woke up, and he knew for a fact that he had them on him, but yet he could still not remember where he had placed them. He was getting very worried now. He remembered now to when he was relaxing during the day. He had his notes on him at that time. What could have happened to these notes? And he remembered that he had put them in his pocket, but they must have flown out by the wind. He was very sad and depressed, but yet he got up and blew the shofar anyway, without his notes and kavanos. After shul, the Baal Shem Tov came to him and congratulated him and said, "Shkoyach, Reb Ze'ev, you had done a brilliant shofar." He said, "But Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov stopped him and said, "In the king's palace there are many gates and doors, which lead to halls and chambers. The guards and palace keepers have many keys to open each and every single door. But there's one master key that opens every door. The kavanos are keys, each unlocking another door in our soul and another chamber in the supernal upper worlds. But the master key is a broken heart to do teshuvah." So this year, when we hear the shofar for ourselves, we can think to ourselves, let's use this master key, this shofar, to make us do teshuvah, and hopefully Hashem will inscribe us in the book of life, each and every one of us. Have a great Rosh Hashanah.
Okay. Hope that story was just like a uplifting idea of how this Reb Ze'ev was so upset that he didn't have the right things with him in order to build a shofar, but yet how the Baal Shem Tov came and told him how it was all going to be okay, it was good, even though the Baal Shem Tov knew that he didn't have his notes with him and he could see that he was very upset. He still knew. He still said to himself, and he still thought. He said, "I know." The Baal Shem Tov thought. He felt bad for him, but he told him how even though you didn't have your notes. It's saying how when he teaches us this example of in a king's palace, how it's saying how this key is a broken heart. So it's saying that this broken heart can lead to anywhere, it can go to the highest levels. So since he was so sad about how he didn't have this paper and he didn't have the right intentions when he blew the shofar, the Baal Shem Tov still taught him how the fact that he still did it, and the fact that how he did it, still proves how powerful the blowing of the shofar is. So just to end this off, I want to get back to everyone has these bags. So we're going to watch a video first on how the professionals actually make shofar, and from that I'm going to teach you how to make your own shofar from these bags that you got from Chabad House. So let's see how the professionals do it.
The shofar, perhaps the oldest wind instrument known to man. Its mystical sound has inspired millions of Jews over the ages, from our biblical ancestors to our modern lives today. A shofar is made from the horn of any kosher animal, usually bighorn sheep or kudus, both animals whose horns contain removable cartilage. Just as there are different kinds of shofar-producing animals, there are different kinds of shofars. Over the centuries, various Jewish communities around the world have developed different techniques and customs regarding which animal horn to use, how to prepare them, how to shape them, and even how to blow them. Ashkenazic Jews use a nice, polished, curved shofar. Moroccan Jews use a bent shofar which can be blown on either side of the mouth. Some Sephardic Jews use a bavli or Babylonian shofar. It is short and circular. Yemenite Jews use a shofar made according to the specifications of Maimonides, known as the Rambam. And here's the bubby of all shofars, the kudu horn. Many Taimanis blow the big-time kudu horn shofar. It's over 3 feet long. Up to 50 years ago, because of primitive tools and technology, it could take up to 3 months to produce a single shofar. But today, thanks to advanced techniques and machinery, your typical shofar factory takes about 1.5 hours to create a shofar from start to finish. Let's horn in on how the pros make shofars. To begin with, the horn is first hit lightly to knock out the cartilage, the soft inner filling. Once the cartilage has been removed, the horn is softened over heat, allowing the shofar maker to bend and straighten it into a practical, pleasant shape. To keep the horn in its new shape, it's hardened with cold running water. The next step is improving its look, removing unwanted bumps, cracks, and ridges, and adding elegant curves by carefully sanding it down. Shofar, show good. Now it's presentable, but it's still not blowable. For this, it needs a hole from end to end, all the way through. And as you can see, making this hole requires special equipment and careful work. A shofar with a hole in the wrong place may not be used on Rosh Hashanah. After the shofar is prepared for use on the inside, it is further prepared for use on the outside. Mitzvahs should be beautiful and performed with a bit of polish and pizzazz, and since blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah is a mitzvah, the shofar is polished, literally, to give it that shiny, respectable, and gleaming look. Before the shofar leaves the factory, the craftsman checks the one most important thing, whether one can actually blow it. When it comes to blowing the shofar, if you can't toot it, you can't use it. In Judaism, everything has a higher purpose, even animal horns. With their magical sounds, they can be used to inspire us to improve ourselves. And on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, the mystical call of the shofar does just that.
Okay, now that we've seen how the professionals actually make a shofar, as Ham, he said in one of the examples, a shofar looks actually a lot like this one. I can't remember which minhag blows this one, but you can see there's a lot of different shofarim. You have the normal Chabad one, which is, well, a lot of people, this is, they said, the most common one. But you get all these other ones, and you can see you've got a kudu horn here. So now we've actually learned how the professionals make it. I want to go in and just explain to everyone how to make your own. So inside your bag, you're going to have So everyone can open up their bag now and get in. You're gonna get your shofar out. And as I said before, this is 100% kosher. These shofrim can be used in Rosh Hashanah if you do it right. These I've done it before. You can make these kosher and they can be very well used. Then in your other side, you're gonna get your sandpaper, which so then you're gonna have your sandpaper. You're gonna get varnish, and you're gonna get a paintbrush. Paintbrush and a varnish. So what you're gonna do now is, so just a reminder, this could make a big mess, whatever. Just when you're sanding, you're rubbing off material, and it's gonna make a mess. So you're gonna want to do this outside on a place it can get dirty. So you don't want to be doing this inside your house, just because it will ruin stuff. It could get into chairs, and it could mess up some stuff. So you're gonna first have your sandpaper. So you're gonna take your shofar, which majority they all should look something like this. But if you feel them, if you've ever felt a shofar before, like you can feel they're very rough, and you want them to end up very smooth, as you can see, like this one, very smooth and shiny. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to take your sandpaper. You're gonna keep on sanding it, just like this, until you get a nice, soft, clean finish. So that it feels very soft when you run your hands. You don't feel any of those like very unsmooth parts. Everything should be nice and smooth. And after that, you're gonna take your varnish. You're gonna open your varnish. Be very careful so you don't spill. Again, you should try to do this outside just so you don't make a mess. And you're gonna be very careful just so you don't spill. You're gonna have your varnish. You're gonna take your paintbrush and you're gonna dip it into the varnish. Once you're done, and you're gonna go onto your shofar and you're gonna smoothen it just to make sure it doesn't get damaged, just so you can make it look nice. As they said, now when it comes to a shofar, the whole idea that to beautify the mitzvah. So you want your shofar to look very nice and smooth and very shiny, very smooth. You want it to overall look like it came out of a shop, not out of your house. You want it to look like you bought this and it looks like a very expensive, and it should blow like a very expensive shofar. So just to end off with this, I just want to show you to blow an actual shofar, just so that you can know. And as you can see, we've got a kudu horn. We've got, how they said, the long, sort of short, round one. We've got the normal one. We've got the most common one. You've got all these different types of shofar. So different customs have different shofar that they blow. And one of the shofars that we have here is, I think it is from the zebra. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but we learn how this is not kosher. One of the reasons is how it doesn't have a single hole. It has a hole here and a hole here. So you blow it more like a flute rather than a shofar. So we learn how something like this wouldn't be kosher, but something like this or like this would be kosher. So let's end off just with hearing the sound of the shofar. And I just want to remind you how there's going to be a grand prize for whoever can blow their shofar the best. I want to hear some good sounds. I want to hear people blowing their shofars properly. And the best one will hopefully be getting a prize from Chabad House, which is who, as I should state, have run this whole program. And it's a very incredible program that they've run. How they're teaching you how you can make your own shofar that will last for years and years to come. So just to end off, just want to blow the shofar, and don't forget to send in your things to Chabad House. So let's just hear the sound of the shofar one last time. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm looking forward to seeing all your shofrim made. I want to see them being blown properly. Let's see who can blow their shofar the best. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. Good luck.